and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Shelby, and thank you so much for clicking on the video. I really and truly appreciate you being here with me, and if you clicked on today's video, then you already know what this is going to be about, but it is officially summer. You know what that means. It is time for me to give you some summer book recommendations. And I've got a mix of all kinds of books for you. So I'm sure that there's something on this list that you will find that you can add to your summer reading list and hopefully have a good time, whatever you may be doing, whether that's by the pool, during a summer storm, or maybe even reading by the beach. But let's go ahead and get into these book recommendations. I am so excited to share these with you guys. I took some time to really kind of think these through, and I think I have a good list. And like I said, there's definitely going to be something on this list for everyone. I've got a list of about 20 books sectioned off into different genres. I've got my notes here so we can go down the list together. But the first genre that we're going to go ahead and start off with is my thriller recommendations. But let's go ahead and jump right into the first one, which is going to be The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This book I read a couple of years ago, and it was the first book that I ever read by this author. And oh my gosh, I loved this book so much. I remember it just taking me for a loop. Like, there was so much happening in that story, but it all centers around our female main character. And basically, she is a young woman that's gone through a pretty rough time. We don't know exactly what has happened and why she is, in the position that she's at and why she is so depressed. But we kind of find her where she is, I think, writing a review on a book that she read, and she's honestly kind of trashing the book, and we just kind of go from there. She ends up staying at this one house by like a beachfront, and it just kind of gets really crazy really fast. And this book honestly had me guessing until the very end. And side note, I was actually extremely surprised when I found out one of the characters' names was Shelby as well. If you don't know, that's obviously my name. So it's not very often that I see or hear that. But I think this book would just be honestly such a great read. It kept me guessing until the end. I could see someone late night in their room during a summer storm reading this book, or even late nights at the beach. Like, this is just such a good book to read. Not gonna lie, guys, my back is killing me. I'm not using the normal chair that I would use in here because it's a part of the couch, and I'm trying to find a way to get some support for my back, but it's just not happening. This is so uncomfortable. I think I'm gonna grab a pillow. Just in case you were wondering why I was fidgeting so much, it was just because it was so uncomfortable not having any proper support. Even though I'm leaning against the wall, I just felt like my back was just arched. It wasn't, anyways, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the next book recommendation that I have for thrillers is going to be House on the Lake, and this one is by Riley Sager. This one I think I read, was it last year or the year before? I can't even remember now. Either last year or the summer after that or before that. Now, the reason why I recommend it, this is not my favorite book by him, but it takes place on a lake. And I think that is just such a nice kind of summer backdrop, especially if you're someone that maybe is going to be taking a vacation by a lake or on a lake house. This would definitely be a good pick to read. It may feel a little bit too close for comfort if you are going to be doing that, but I really recommend this book. This one basically follows, I think it's I can't remember what she does, but this book basically follows a young woman again, and she is staying at this lake house. She's also another person that has gone through quite some things and is at a challenging place in her life. And across the lake, there is another woman, and she's rich, well off, and married this guy, and is married to this guy, and this some crazy stuff starts to happen. Our main character happens to see something, and she just kind of goes crazy, trying to figure out if what she saw was real or what is truly happening. And we just kind of follow that entire journey, and honestly, it was a good time. So if you're looking for a little something that is going to give you that beach, that lake backdrop, kind of like this long summer nights where you feel like you're outside for hours. Like this book gives me those feels. I think about when I was a kid and being out until the sun has gone down, and my parents would have to come out and like call me to come back in the house. Like, it was dark outside, and now, like, when it gets dark, it is like after 9 o'clock. So this book really gives me that feel for some reason. I think there's a couple scenes in here where you kind of see them like out on the lake at night, and like they're kind of sitting on the porch and things like that. So I think this is a really good pick for the summer. Next book that I have for the thrillers, and this will be the last book that I have on this particular list for thrillers, and that is going to be Survive the Night. This is another Riley Sager book, and this was the first one that I read by him, and oh my god, I love this book so much. I love it so much. I cannot even explain. I absolutely enjoy this book. You can kind of tell by the title, but it's again following a young woman, and I believe she is in college. She's at university, and she is traveling, and I can't remember if she picks up someone and drives them or if it's vice versa. I can't remember who's the driver, but long story made short, she is in a car with this person who is supposed to be a serial killer, or so we think is a serial killer. We don't know. We just know that we are in the car with a stranger that we have never met before, and we are going to do our best to try to survive the night, whichever way that night takes us. And it is a wild ride. There is a twist at the end. I don't know. I loved this book so much, and I kind of want to go back and reread it. This one is definitely a good one to add to the list for sure. It's like the whole entire book honestly just takes place over the course of the one night, and you're kind of, for the most part anyways, and you're following them throughout like the hours of the night and what's taking place. And it starts off where you're kind of like, oh, that innocent vibe where you're kind of like not really thinking too much about anything, but like us as the reader, we know something's gonna happen, and you're kind of sitting there like, when is it gonna happen? And it happens pretty fast when we start to like question things. But it is so good. And honestly, also not what you think. Not what you think. So go into this book with an open mind and don't try to guess too hard about what's going on, because I tried to guess, and for me, I didn't get it until the end. So, and that one was definitely a good book, and that was my introduction to Riley Sager. And after that, I was like, I need more. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get into my romance recommendations for the summer. I find this one to be a little bit tricky because I tried to separate romance from like beachy reads, but like a lot of my beach reads are also romance books. So these ones are not ones that necessarily take place on a beach, but they give me very much like summer vibes, and I think it's a good book to read during the summer. So I've got two here. One I'm actually currently reading, and so that's why I'm recommending it to you, not just because I'm currently reading it, but because of where it takes place, and that is going to be the Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. This is my, I think, third Catherine Center book. I've read Hello Stranger, I think it is, and then The Bodyguard. So now I'm currently reading the Rom-Commers, and this one is so cute so far, but it basically follows our main character, Emma, and she is like I think a screenwriter or something like that, but she is not doing well, and she is desperate at this point. She is honestly just trying to make ends meet. She lives at home with her dad and her sister, and her dad isn't doing the best, so she's also kind of like his caregiver as well. When she gets an opportunity of a lifetime, and she's flown out to California to help create a screenplay for, I think it's either a movie, I think it's a movie, I can't remember if it's a movie or a TV show, but and I just think California as a backdrop is so summery. All the palm trees, the beaches. Oh, I just think it's just such a summer vibe. So this one I think would be a really great one. And it's also bright and fun and cheery. And Catherine Center books, from my personal opinion, from all the books that I've read by her, they're all so good and just really heartfelt. She packs a lot into them, but they're really honestly just a book that's meant to be a good time. So I'm hoping this is going to be the same, and so far it is doing just that. But it does also deal with some tough situations as well. So if you want something with a little bit of depth, a little bit of fun, and a backdrop of California, then this is going to be the one for you. And apparently I really like books with screenwriters, because the next book I have on my list is Nora Goes off script. Now, there are so many Annabelle Monaghan books I probably could have picked for this. Well, I guess not so many. I know of 3 other books, I believe, that have like a summer backdrop for her books and a summary cover, but I haven't read those yet, so I didn't want to recommend them if I haven't read them. So this one is Nora Goes Off Script. I just read this one last month. It was my buddy read pick. I had such a good time reading this book. It is super short, so if you want something to take with you to the beach that you can read and just kind of enjoy, this would definitely be a good one to take with you as well, because of how tiny it is, or just any kind of vacation that you may be taking this summer. But again, it follows Nora, if you couldn't tell by the name. And Nora is a screenwriter, and she has written, I think, a movie, and she has like the whole crew for like this movie come to her house to film, I guess, a couple of different scenes, because she has like a really cute, almost kind of like a farm-esque home. It's it gives me like in the middle of nowhere kind of vibes. It's very quiet and quaint, and she has a little guest house there. And lo and behold, one morning she wakes up to find that one of the actors has gone missing. After they have filmed, they had all supposedly left, and now one of them has gone missing. And we kind of end up finding out that he's not actually missing. He may or may not have actually left Nora's house. So this one is such a cute one. It is a romance. It is really sweet. We've got cute kids involved in the book as well, because Nora is a divorced single mom, and I don't know, overall really enjoyed this book. So if you are looking for something that's lighthearted, easy to read, and not very big, this is definitely a good pick for you. Right, now let's get into my beach read pick. I think I have pretty much all of them here physically, except for two of them. So we'll go through the ones that I have physically first. Ugh. First one on my list, this is probably not going to be a surprise, because I wouldn't be surprised if you have not already seen this as a recommendation before, but that is going to be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. She has quite a lot of books that you can choose from, and her latest book, Say You'll Remember Me, I think would also be a great one on this list as well. But this one just gives summer vibes. I mean, honestly, just even look at this cover. I read this one last June for my buddy pick, and I am so glad that I did, because it, for one, introduced me to the world of Abby Jimenez, which I know you're not supposed, or you shouldn't really start off with this book, but I honestly don't think that it really hurts. The only thing is if you haven't read the other 2 books before this one, because it is a series, but it's not like a series that you have to read each book. The world is just interconnected. The reason it's important, or you could benefit from reading the books before this one, is just because there are characters that are in this book that are our main characters, or other characters in her previous books. So it is recommended that you read those books before this one, but I don't think that you have to in order to really love and enjoy this book. This is also the first book that I've ever annotated, and I annotated the heck out of this book because I loved it. It was guys, first off, the male main character, our love interest, just sunshine, just pure sunshine, happiness, funny. I loved him so much. And also, he sacrifices a lot for his family, and I think that there's just so much heart to this book. But between that, our female main character, as well as the backdrop for this book, because it takes place, I don't remember exactly what part of the world it takes place in. I wanted to say, does it say here? I can't remember, guys, and I feel like a fool because I can't remember it. But anyways, I can't remember exactly where it takes place. I want to say like Michigan or something like that, but it's probably not Michigan. But anyways, it has just such a beautiful backdrop because, again, it is a house that is on a lake, and I just absolutely devoured it, and it is very perfect for the summer. And as you can tell, it also takes place during the summer, hence the title, Just for the Summer. So this is definitely one you gotta pick up at some point. I'm going to tell you have to pick it up because I just think it's just so good. I just think it's so good. Okay, again, another book recommendation that you are probably going to see quite a lot, but Beach Read by Emily Henry. And maybe this feels redundant for a lot of people. Maybe you look at this and you're like, oh my god, not another Emily Henry book recommendation, or not Beach Read again. But I'm telling you, if you're seeing it and you haven't read it yet, you should definitely pick it up. This was my first book that I ever read by her, and I loved it. Takes place, of course, on the beach or at like a beach town, like a house by the beach, whatever. Basically, it takes place around the beach. And we find two writers, and I'm not going to say too much because I feel like I will probably spoil it, but this is a romance. It is, I want to say, is it a second chance romance? I know that the two main characters know each other. So they are also neighbors in this. So too close for comfort because they don't really like each other in the beginning. But it is such a good read. And if you don't know, it's turning into a movie, and they have a release date for it. I think they said it's like March or something, like March, January. I can't remember, but I think it's a Netflix movie, and I'm excited to see it come to life. Oh my god. Okay, that's that. Another book that I have, these ones I'm going to recommend together. You're going to see this book quite a lot. But if you're going to read one Golden Summer, then I'm going to recommend that you read this one first, which is Every Summer After by Carrie Fortune. This one is probably one of my favorite Carrie Fortune books. This was her first book that she came out with, so her debut novel. And this one is probably my favorite trope of all time. It is childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. We've got past and present timelines. I mean, I absolutely love a book with those tropes just mixed into one. Hence, my favorite book, which is Love in Other Words. And so this is why I picked this one up originally. But it does take place at the lake, which is just, again, another beautiful backdrop. And it is a love story, ultimately. So if you are also looking for a cute little romance to read on your vacation, this is going to be a good one to do so. Again, it is a tiny little book. I don't know. I know Nora Goes off script is like 280. This one is like 320 or something like that. And then after you read Every Summer After, pick up One Golden Summer, because this is kind of a continuation, but it basically follows our brother that we see in Every Summer After, and now this is his book. So this is again taking place at the same backdrop, so same lake area, and now we are following just two different characters. We also get glimpses of returning characters from Every Summer After, which is really nice and gives a really good conclusion to that whole family, which is nice. All right, the other two books that I have to recommend for beach reads, the first one I'm going to recommend that you read is going to be Wanderlust. Now, I can't remember who wrote this book, but this one I just think is just a really great book for the summer, and a really great book to take with you on any kind of vacation, whether or not it's beach or not. And that is because it is all about travel. This one follows our female main character, and she basically gets entered into like this contest on the radio where she wins a wonderful trip to travel around the world, and she gets to do so with someone along the way, and it is just so cute. It is so sweet, and I loved the story. I think that the romance part of the book was also really nice and compelling. It helped to kind of move the story forward, but honestly, just being able to be transported to these different places around the world with the character and feeling like you were actually there with her was something that is so incredible and something that I always look for in a summer read. So Wanderlust, if you haven't read it, definitely recommend picking it up. I don't see it recommended very often, so if you haven't heard of it, hopefully you will give it a chance and check it out. All right, the last beach read recommendation that I have for you guys is going to be The Paradis Problem by Christina Lauren, who just have the ability to write some really incredible romances. And they've had some hits and they've had some misses, I'm not gonna lie, but their hits, they hit. Love in other words. Anyways, anywhere I can plug that book in, I'm just gonna plug it in. But this one is very much a tropical, islandy feeling romance book that I can recommend. I read this one a couple years ago, I think when it first came out, so I don't remember a whole lot about the entire plot of the book, but I do remember it centers around our female main character who is down on her luck. She doesn't have anything really going for her right now and is quite broke, and she is looking for some help. And we've got our male main character who's like, man, I gotta go to this wedding and I need a date. And so they kind of come up with this plot and plan, and now she is his date to this wedding. I can't remember if he ends up paying her. I want to say yes, but we already have an idea of what's going to happen in the end. And it's a cute little read. And you get to travel with them to this, where do they go? Do they go to Hawaii? Something like that, for this wedding. And it is just such a fun, cute read. So I definitely recommend reading this book. All right, now we are going to move into my YA book recommendations. I honestly just wanted to make sure I had a little something on here for everyone, no matter what age you are. And if you are also someone that is still into reading YA books, then I do think that you should check these out. They're just very cute and sweet. So here we go. We're going to start off with the ones that I don't have physically. So first couple that I'm going to recommend are by the same author, and that is Better Than the Movies. That is actually probably one of my favorite YA romances. And the reason why I recommend that is just it gives me so much summer feels because of all of the references to movies. And they are like classic movies, like 90s, 80s, early 2000s, like classic movies. And I don't know, something about that just really makes me think about the summer. So I think that this one would be a fun one to read. I can't remember. I think also the prom is involved with this, which means that it's taking place during that time period of the summer. But I absolutely devoured this book. This one is by Lynn Painter, and oh my gosh, it is so entertaining, so good. I really love our male main character. I believe his name is Wes. I absolutely love him. He's supposed to be like the bad boy in school, but ultimately he is honestly just a softie. He's got a harder outer shell, but he is like that for a reason. It's really just a defense and protective mechanism for him. But I don't know. I loved it, and I loved the little romance between our female main character and Wes. It was just perfect. And there is a second book to that, which is Nothing Like the Movies. That one wasn't my favorite, but if you do want to continue their story, you can pick up that one afterwards. It is very, very cute. I at least recommend reading Better Than the Movies. And then the other book I have by Lynn Painter that I wanted to recommend was The Do-Over. Again, it gives me similar vibes of Better Than the Movies because it is, again, YA, and it is another romance, and it revolves around a kind of like a bad boy and a good girl again. But this one was such an interesting storyline because it was almost kind of like Groundhog's Day, where the same events kept happening over and over again, and I just thought that was such a fun concept. So I just think anything that is fun and lighthearted is just something worth reading during the summer because you just want to have good vibes, that magical feeling, and The Do-Over does give you a little bit of that magic. And then the other series that I'm going to recommend because season finale is about to come out. I'm so sad. Does anyone else watch The Summer I Turned Pretty? I don't know. Let me know. But my other book recommendation that I have for YA summer book recs would be the series The Summer I Turned Pretty. And I absolutely loved this series. I thought this one was such a... I don't know. I think when I read it, I was originally like, I don't know, middle school. No, maybe not middle school. Maybe in high school. And I remember just thinking like, oh my God, this is like, I'm a grown up. I'm reading a grown up book. And it kind of, in a sense, like really depicts what it's like to be a teenager, especially during the summer. Like, you feel like your world is changing constantly, and sometimes your world may revolve around a boy or around a girl. And I think that this book just does a really great job of kind of showing that summer love, and it is again a childhood friends to lovers romance series, which I love. It is a little messy. It does get a little bit messy, and we are definitely getting into a very messy part of the story if you are watching the show. But if you're watching the show and you haven't read the book, I need you to go pick up the book. It is so cute. It basically revolves around Belly, who goes to this summer house at the beach called Cousins with her mom and her older brother, and they stay with her mom's best friend Susanna and her two boys. And it is just kind of telling the story of the romance that buds between Belly and these boys, how everything transpires, and so much more. It is just such a perfect book. I love it. Or I should say a series. All right, and then for my physical reads, I have The Summer of Broken Rules, and this one I read last year, I believe. This one had been on my list for quite some time, and I'm glad that I finally read it. This basically follows our main character, Meredith, who recently lost her sister, and this takes place obviously in the summer when Meredith and her family go to the house that they always go to during the summer in Martha's Vineyard, but it is the first celebration without her sister, and so it's very hard for her, and it's very emotional. And there's like this little game that the family plays during this big summer vacation when all the family is together, and it's kind of like a treasure hunt in a sense, but on 100. Not even a treasure hunt. What do you call this? I don't know, but it's intense and it's insane, and it's a lot of fun to just kind of follow them around while they're trying to like win. And like Meredith is trying to be the best that she can at this game because her sister was always so amazing, and she just wants to kind of win it, I think, ultimately for herself, but also for her. My camera overheated as I was talking. That should tell you how hot it is. But ultimately, all I was saying was that she's just trying to win for herself and ultimately for her sister and her sister's memory. But it's very, very cute, very sweet, and there is a little bit of a love story or a little bit of a love interest throughout this book, which is really, really good. So if you haven't read this one, definitely add this one to your list. And I don't know what it is about her covers, but I love her covers. Every time I go into Barnes & Nobles and I see her books, I'm like, I already know whose books those are. Her covers are just really beautiful. All right, my last book recommendation for YA is going to be a thriller, and that is going to be The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I was going to put A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on this list, but I feel like everybody talks about it, and I wanted to give you something different. But if you haven't read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, that would be a great one as well. But this one is such a good book. This one was, I think, her latest, or one of her latest books. I don't know if she has anything out since this one. I should honestly check that out. But I read anything Holly Jackson because I think her writing is really phenomenal. This one basically follows This one is about a young girl named Belle and her mom who disappeared when Belle was very, 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 very young. And now all of a sudden, her mom, Rachel, has reappeared. And we're trying to figure out where she's been, what happened to her, and why all of a sudden she just randomly reappeared. And is she a good guy or a bad guy? Like, can we trust her or not? Belle's trying to figure all that out. And while that is all happening, and while this is all taking place, they're actually filming a movie, or I should say a documentary, about her disappearance. So you can see how that would be a plot twist. Alright, my friends, now before my camera battery dies, I want to get to my last 3 book recommendations for you guys. And these ones are not a particular genre or category. This one is just by an author, and I've got quite a few books by this author that I think just fit really well for the summer. The author is Taylor Jenkins Reid, and the first book that I have on my list here is Malibu Raising. I love this book so much. This one is, I don't want to call it a series, but it does follow. There is a character that we get a huge spotlight on in this book that is in a few of her other books. I think Daisy Jones and the Six and the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it all kind of ties things together. So if you want to read those before, you can, but you don't have to know what's going on in this book. But this one basically follows that particular main character and his children. How can this not be a summer read? I mean, look at this cover. Crystal blue ocean water surfing. Yes, there is surfing involved in this book. This one actually follows our main character, Nina Riva, and she is just going through it right now. She is married. She is also a famous surfer and supermodel. But she, like I said, is going through it. She is now getting divorced from her husband, which we'll get to that in a second. But they throw like this annual like summer party every year, and she's got like 4 siblings or something like that. And the there's just a lot of mess, a lot of chaos going on in the family, and this is the time of year where they're all going to get together and things start to really get unpacked and told, and we're just kind of following that mess. And we're just kind of following along with that drama. And it is such a good book. Honestly, it is. I love this book so much. It is probably about time that I reread this one. But basically, we kind of get told this book throughout the time of when this party is going to take place until something ultimately happens at the party, which is, I don't know. It's just such a good read. I'm trying to be very vague about what I say because I don't want to give anything away. But like I said, Nina is getting divorced in this book because her husband cheated on her. And her husband cheated on her with Carrie Soto. So I'm going to recommend Carrie Soto is back because this has to be my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. And is probably, dare I say it, besides Love and Other Words, this is probably one of my favorite books of all time. This book is so good. So let me tell you a little bit about it. This one follows our main character, Carrie Soto, and she is a tennis player. She is probably the greatest tennis player known to man as of this point. Until one day, while Carrie Soto is in retirement, she is watching someone getting ready to claim her spot. And Carrie is like, oh, no. She is a competitive, not so likable main character, but at the end, you are going to be loving, screaming, and rooting for her the entire way. I absolutely loved this story. I devoured it. It's a sports romance of sorts, and it is just so much summer vibes. It also takes place a lot in California. But she travels a lot because she is a tennis player, a professional tennis player. So she goes to many different places to play these different tennis matches. And it is just so good and super intense. So if you're looking for something like that, this is going to be your pick for sure. And then the last book that I have on this list is going to be my final Taylor Jenkins Reid recommendation that I have for you guys. And that is Atmosphere, a love story by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I mean, look at this. Honestly, just take a really good look at this cover. This cover is absolutely beautiful and stunning, and the details just incredible. If you could not tell, this one is going to take place. This one has a lot to do with space. This one is just such a beautiful story. This one is just such a beautiful story, love story, I should say, and it is gut-wrenchingly good. It is so powerful, so phenomenal. This is probably, I don't know, it's so hard to, her writing is just honestly phenomenal. She did such a good job with this book, guys. Literally thinking about this book makes me want to cry. There is something that happens at the end where I was literally like, and like tears coming down my eyes, because I believed it. I believed something happened. And I was like, oh my
God, no, it can't end this way. Oh my God.
She did such a great job. But it follows Joan, who is a young woman who has joined NASA. And during a time where I think women were really trying to make a name for themselves in a man's world. And Joan is battling a lot. She's trying to find her place. She's trying to find who she is. And she realizes that, you know, love comes in so many different forms, and we really just kind of follow her journey on finding love, also finding herself, and stepping up to the plate when it's really not her place to have to step up to the plate, because her little sister is just a piece of work. She has a little sister in here, and she's a piece of work. I'm gonna tell you that. But this book was so good. Definitely one of those like gut-wrenching reads for sure. There's a lot that happens in this book, but it is such a good one. And that's all I have to say. Anyways, guys, those are all of the book recommendations that I have for you guys for the summer. There are tons more that I'm sure are out there, but these ones are the ones that I personally read and that I love and just can't get enough of, honestly. So I hope you have found some things that you can add to your summer reading list. If you have any plans on reading any of these books, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.